So, anyways, we get across and get back up the opposite side of the hill a ways. And sure enough, we find out the other rumor, aside from the whole bandit thing, is also true. And we find, of course, that there is in fact an ogre hanging out in a cave. And so, naturally, Dandy's first idea is to see what it's up to. He's gonna sneak over there. And really, he had, in fact, really adopted the roguish kind of personality over, over the bard. I mean, he should have just been a rogue. Because, I mean, I think his instrument was like a violin or something, that he would play. And I think that was mostly because he didn't want to actually, do any, singing or anything. And I understand, most people wouldn't, but, the the whole purpose of the bard is to be that outlandish kind of character in the first place. Doesn't matter. So, anyways, our rogue bard goes over and sneaks over there to see what the orc's up to, and he's currently sleeping at this point in time. And behind him, a little further into the cave, is just a whole bunch of shit that David's describing, like merchant stuff. Like maybe he's robbed somebody, right? At least that was everybody's thought, really. So, naturally, of course, Edwin's like, okay, I'll be right back. We're like, this is gonna go something similarly to the Harpy's Nest thing. But we're gonna let him do it. Because why not? So he sneaks past the troll and he starts rummaging through this thing's shit. Oh, sorry, ogre. My bad. So he starts rummaging through all this stuff. I'm not all too sure what all he finds, but he finds a lot of stuff that's, worth selling. He's putting as much of it into his bag as he can, because we didn't really have any of those, endless sacks or anything like that. So he's just putting as much as he can into his bag. And of course, the ogre wakes up, because why wouldn't he? Sees us, more importantly, sees Dandy, tries to cut him off, right? He's, wakes up and he's just like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And Dandy's like, okay, I got this. He, kind of holds his hand out, right, in character, towards the party, because I'm about ready to rush in there behind this thing and, get a couple of surprise hits in, I've got 4 fucking moves I could do at once. Let's cut this thing up. But he holds his hand out there and he's like, no, wait. I got this. What? Okay, man. Sure. And he whips out his rapier and he twirls it around. And he's like, ha ha! It's like the ogre laughs at you. He just busts out laughing. Like, okay, while he's laughing, I take a lunge for his nuts. He's like, whoa! no sense of fair play with Edwin, man. I I lunge my rapier right into his nuts. Wow. David's like, okay, roll it, I guess? Fucking rolls it. He gets a 20. Of course he gets a 20. Oh my god. He pierces this thing, and with one shot, the fight is pretty much over. There's no semblance to suggest that this ogre wants to at all continue the fight. Okay? He drops his club, he's bent over, he's squealing and crying. Literally, this ogre is crying. I mean, wouldn't you? Realistically. But no, Edwin's like, okay, I've got 2 more attacks in me before I can use my last move to hopefully get out of the way. So I'm going in for a second and third lunge. Jesus, dude, really? And so he rolls it, and sure enough, bap, bap, 2 more shots. Oh my god. He's having this fucking ogre is having the worst day of his life now. He's screaming and wailing, and he's like begging for him to stop. And before he collapses to his knees, because he's lumbering back and forth a bit, and he's holding his junk and it's bleeding out. And he's just wailing and crying. And as he's about to collapse to his knees, Edwin, he's like, okay, I use my last move to roll underneath his feet and get out from under there. And he's like, okay, again. And of course he gets it, and he rolls underneath the ogre's feet before he collapses to his knees. Just in this crying, heaping mess. And he's like, okay, we're out of here. And he just runs past the party, and the entire party is just kind of like in shock and awe that this just went down. Like, sure, it's an ogre, but like, god damn, you gotta feel bad for the guy, So anyways, we get out of there and leave the ogre. And for the most part, we kind of end up lost a bit, like in the woods, because we're on like an off-beaten track. We're just guesstimating, where to go at best. And so, sure enough, we get ourselves lost in the woods. A couple of real adventurers here, and eventually, Edgar, the hunter, and his boar find us, wandering around in the woods after just hours have gone by, right? Not like an actual gameplay, but, David would constantly roll it to see if we've gotten anywhere, any sort of semblance of finding our way, and it was just constant, just botchery. I mean, we ended up lost for a while. But anyways, Edgar eventually finds us, and, asks us, what the fuck are we doing, out here, wandering around in the woods, and we got lost, man. And he's like, well, come on back to my hut. I'll get you, situated. You could rest up for the night, try at it again tomorrow. And I'll let you borrow one of my maps. Like, great. And so we follow him back, and pretty much, a lot of what transpires is mostly dialogue and and storytelling and stuff. It's the story section of the game. Originally, it would be that we had just stumbled, I guess, upon his cabin in the woods, right? And we would find out that it is his house, and he'd come home, and then, I don't know, fix us something to eat or some shit, and, then dialogue would take place, but because we got lost, he had to come and find us, right? And, yeah, basically, we find out a few things. The Harpies have been there for quite some time, and that they've actually have gathered from around the region. Like eventually, like at one point in time, it was just a small group of them, but they kind of grow in size every like year or so. And Edgar's like, I went by so and so's cave. He says the name, but for the life of me, it escapes me. And he's like, I went by so and so's cave, and he was dead. I think one of the bandits got to him. They stole the stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And we had to ask him, like, who are you talking about? Whose cave? So we're a little bit confused. Like, the ogre that lives in the cave. I'm like, oh, shit. Right? None of us fessed up, by the way, especially not Edwin, right? Once we heard. So apparently, according to Edgar, the ogre was actually selling like his wares out of this cave. He had a little side merchant business going on, but he couldn't do anything like close to town or on the roads and stuff like that. Very select few people actually from the area knew about him and what he did. But for the most part, he would trade goods to people for money. And he had a little business going in order to, you know, I mean, I don't know what an ogre wants with fucking coin. Not like he can go into town to buy anything, but that's what he did. And we're all just like, oh shit. And he's like, Edgar's like, yeah, bastards hid him right in the jewels and left him there to bleed. Can you imagine that? Everyone's like, yeah, imagine that. Fucking bastards.